Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to MLG. I'm Tasteless. With me is my good friend, JP. Artos is on a little break. JP, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And you know, we're actually about to add a good friend of mine to the call. We got Rob Simpson from Blizzard Entertainment. He's over at a Barcraft. I'm going to call him on my Sony Xperia Play. Rob, how's it going?
We're here live from Lake Forest, California at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we love MLG Orlando. Yeah!
To all the people coming to us from that Barcraft. And if you guys are actually out there Barcrafting yourselves, send us a tweet at MLG and at ItMeJP on Twitter.com, and maybe we'll set up a webcam for you and get you guys on the air. You guys like Barcrafting out there in the crowd? It's pretty fun, man.
It's pretty excellent. It looks like a lot of fun down there. Greetings to all you guys down at that Barcraft. And again, as JP said, please let us know if you have other Barcrafts going on in other parts of the world, whether it's here in the United States or elsewhere. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, just tweet at JP for us, please. So we are actually inserting another match.
Yeah.
An extra match here. So we're going, because the game's a little bit shorter, so we're going to get TLO up against SlayerSBoxer.
So you guys, any fans out of TLO out there in the crowd? Now, any fans of Boxer out there in the crowd?
Anybody heard of Boxer before?
Pretty well-known guy, I'd say.
Yeah, I would have to say so as well. It's interesting because TLO is actually so much like one of the biggest non-Korean players. I know StarCraft 2 is obviously a very young game still, but still in StarCraft 2 history, TLO is by far one of the most popular. And, of course, SlayerSBoxer, very popular inside of Korea, very popular outside of Korea. Without SlayerSBoxer, Korean esports, and I think esports in general, just wouldn't be what it is today.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I mean, he's actually just done so much for the game on a player level, on just all around the world. So it looks like both our players are actually about to be ready. But, guys, of course, go over to Facebook.com/MLGPro, Twitter.com/MLG. Go ahead and tweet us how you guys are liking the event. Let us know. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, go over to our friends over at TeamLiquid.net for a ton of coverage, as well as joining in the conversation at Reddit on our gaming and, of course, our StarCraft.
Spread the word, guys. Whether you're here, whether you're in a Barcraft, or whether you're on out here in our audience, you'll get your cell phones out to do it. Maybe you're at your computer. Then there's no excuse to not do that. Yeah. Because if you love esports and you love MLG, this is the easiest way to spread the word. So we are actually, it looks like we have a little bit more of a delay here. Of course, it took us a little bit to get this whole thing set up because, we basically realized we're going to have some extra time today. So, you might as well get, two heavyweights like these two together to duke it out.
Yeah, this should be a fun match. Both, I would almost say, around the same skill level, For a while there, TLO was at the top of his game, but he had to take a little bit of a break due to his wrist injuries. But I feel like he's getting a lot better as time is progressing forward.
Yeah, SlayerSBoxer is somebody similar to TLO that always produces a really entertaining and exciting game. It's like they really, really understand how RTS games work, both of these guys. Yeah. I remember, we've seen SlayerSBoxer do so many amazing moves. And when I saw him block half the map with a 4 barracks rush against an ST, or you see somebody like TLO actually pointing a nuke in a Terran versus Terran simply to force the guy to unsiege and back up, and then he just cancels the nuke in order to really show, Terran versus Terran already being so positionally based that, in fact, you could step it up even another notch and do a move like that. So I expect this to be one of our better games today, and I'm really looking forward to getting this going. Are we ready?
I think we're ready, Nick. Let's
go
ahead and get started.
I just need to make sure that our audience is ready. Can you guys make some noise?
They're ready, Nick. Let's go ahead and get it started. It's actually a great point that you brought up. Both these players are really well known for their creativity. TLO, like you said, and Boxer as well. I think just both of them always pushing the envelope when it comes to new builds and new strategies.
Yeah, they're not always winning every tournament, but they're definitely changing the way that we actually play the game.
Yeah, that is for sure. So, guys, we're going to jump into our first game. It is going to be on Zelnaga Caverns. you're actually going to be driving for us, Nick. So why don't you tell us about the players?
All right, let's introduce the two now. Over here in the bottom left starting location, the longer version of his name, the little one, now known as TLO. Make some noise for this fine player. On the other side of the map, in the blue, perhaps the most legendary figure in esports history, nicknamed the Emperor. Give it up for SlayerSBoxer.
That guy has a ton of fans out there, Nick.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely does. You know, living in Seoul, I can tell you that actually he is so popular out there. He's, you know, of the status where it's difficult to get around without being recognized, essentially.
Yeah, that
you know,
is
he's
very true.
And I mean anywhere, not just an esports event.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he actually is the leader / owner / captain. He's kind of the head honcho over at the Slayers team.
Yeah.
And he's really built up that team from the ground up. I mean, it just started in StarCraft 2, and now they've got some of the best players in the world on it. So
now, as you can see, SlayerSBoxer and actually TLO both putting their barracks in these locations. This might cause a little bit of a panic as an SCV comes in here and does not see the barracks right away.
Yeah, and it actually can signify, it really just depends on how the player is going to deal with it, because if he doesn't actually see it, you know, he can't just overreact. And a lot of times, StarCraft 2 really comes down to the mind games that are involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you know, of course, a game of mechanics and a game of, you know, just having a lot of knowledge about how the game works. But the mind games, of course, always play a factor as well, and I think nobody's really better than these two when it comes to the mind games in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, that is for sure. Now, TVT, just talking about the matchup in general, this is one of the matchups that's really the most discovered, in a sense.
You're absolutely correct.
Probably because it's played almost in every tournament,
yeah.
about 1 billion times. But there's a lot of good Terrans out there, and they've really worked on this matchup and really figured it out.
Yeah, you know, right now with TVT, it's, I know in my experience over at GOM TV, it's
you guys like your TVT?
We get a lot of TVT. We call it a GOM TVT.
Yeah.
But, and by the way, if you want to see more of our toasts and myself, please check us out at www.gomtv.net, where you can see the show we hosted in Korea, the GSL.
Yeah, and if you're not tuning into that, well, you actually just might be
You're
killing
messing
esports.
up. You're
yeah,
actually
you
just
lost
messing
passion,
up.
Man.
You're really, I lost all respect for you.
I know, yeah. That's it's all true information, man, all true information.
So it looks like we have the scouting barracks here.
Yeah, not typically something you see, but it is going to signify mech play, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is absolutely for sure.
Mech play is actually something that a lot of Terrans, especially Puma, started out doing, but a lot of people have actually just gone back into bioplay. But a player like MVP, who's just been winning so many tournaments out there, like the GSL, is really stuck to mech, and it seems like that is kind of the go-to build right now. But people are still doing bioplay. Do you have any thoughts on really why, Nick?
You know, I think bioplay is a little bit easier to do and to get the hang of, whereas mech play is kind of a grueling exercise where every game is longer, every game can be more frustrating, but the better you are at meching, I think the more likely you are to just result in a win.
That's true. That's very true. And
yeah.
I mean, it takes actually a ton of control to really play mech.
Yeah,
and a player like MVP is probably the only one that can really do it at the tip-top level right now, to be honest.
I think so. You know, there's a few others. Bomber's quite good, but we saw what MVP did to him in the GSL. But yeah, just being able to you know, have that patience and tolerate. You know, you might lose a game that's a 35-minute mech game. You can do that.
Right.
And it's a terrible feeling, whereas if you just went for a 5-barracks Marine Rush like we saw Marine King Prime do not long ago in the GSL, you know, it's easier to pull it off.
So we see here 2 factories in TLO's main as a Hellion from Boxer is going to run up and do a little bit of a peek, but these 2 Marines will chase him out as well as his 2 Hellions behind. But still no add-ons on these factories. So
look at this.
Very Hellion-heavy play right now coming out of TLO.
Yeah, I'm actually confused by this. You know, you'd expect to see the reactor factory, but TLO obviously does have his reasons for that. I'm sure somehow this will balance his economy out or something like that.
Right. We see that Rax is actually going to fall no matter what TLO really wants to do, which means that he's going to have to rebuild it later on, but he's already up to 3 factories, so he won't have to build it for quite some time. And we do have some Hellions coming out from TLO, and they're quickly approaching the ramp of SlayerSBoxer.
All right, nice poke here with the Hellions. He's got to be careful. There are definitely more Hellions here than there are here. And Again, guys, I know that he's going mech, but when you lose the barracks, that means you can't make factories back at home, and you can see TLO immediately throwing up an additional one before he has to remake that barracks.
Yeah, and also the starport started as well. Now, I kind of think what he was trying to do there, but it didn't really work in his favor, was use that Rex to see the high ground and use those Hellions from the low ground to get some shots in, but it really just didn't work out, and now Boxer does have map control with these Hellions pushing forward now across the map.
I do like the line of Hellions here.
The Great Wall of Hellions.
The Great Wall of Hellions, you can see here. Because it's going to be tough for SlayerSBoxer's Hellions to try to move in through that position there.
And it's very important that, I mean, you see TLO constantly spreading these Hellions out because, as everyone knows out there, I mean, if you line them up, it's actually, they're just going to die. Regardless of what it is.
Especially Hellions versus Hellions. Yeah, you're not going to win that. Now, 2 Vikings over here. He does land those Vikings onto the ground because he realizes, well, there is a sizable number of Hellions over here from TLO, and TLO, of course, did get his expansion up a little bit sooner. TLO with a 10 supply lead.
And now your life partner, Artosis, was telling me how a Viking looks like a duck when it's on the ground. What are your thoughts on this, Artosis? Or excuse me, Tasteless.
No. What does a Viking look like on the ground?
Yeah, he says.
Actually, yeah, it does kind of look like a duck.
Doesn't it? I actually didn't agree with him at the time, but it actually kind of.
Well, you know, when you see them move around, that's when they do it.
Yeah, that is that's true. Only I think someone like Artosis could spot that.
No, that's Artosis' brain right there, man. He sees the world in a different way.
Really
than the rest of us.
He really does.
All right, we have +1 attack over here for vehicle weapons. Meanwhile, he's now gotten several add-ons and is getting all these upgrades. We put on the production tab here. So yeah, as you guys can see, Blue Flame Hellion is going to be a serious threat. And if I take a look over here, it looks like we're going to have the same as well.
Yeah, Boxer's Blue Flame is about 3 seconds from finishing here on that middle factory. And he's actually going to have it before TLO, so he might be able to hit a pretty nice timing if he went and attacked. But we're going to have Thors out for TLO quite a bit before Boxer. I'm not even sure if he'll go that route at this stage in the game.
Well, you know, the Hellion Thor mixture can actually be like really, it can really put you off. You're not ready to see that combination.
Right.
And oftentimes it can catch you off guard.
Here we go.
Oh, the Blue Flame Hellions are moving in now. But it looks like the angle here, or actually, I'm sorry, Blue Flame Hellions just kill everything. And now they're going to run out. I know they were going to do damage. I didn't know they would do that much damage. Very nice. And I love, actually, how SlayerSBoxer escapes once he's won that battle. No need to sit around here and try to burn down the Thor.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just like the longest battle in StarCraft 2
Yeah, no
history.
kidding, yeah.
It would definitely not go in Boxer's favor. And he's actually going to be walling off with these depots, which is really, really smart because a lot of times in TBTs, when they both go mech and they're very Hellion-focused, the game can really turn on a dime because if you're not walled off, your opponent can just counterattack you, and Hellions can chew through SCVs pretty quickly.
Yeah, they absolutely can. You're absolutely correct. And, you know, moving on here, it looks like he's going to be getting the double starport here. What do you think he's going to go in for medevacs, maybe?
It's very possible, but I mean, I'm not sure what he's going to be doing with those. Maybe some drops
or something is what I was thinking.
That is actually something that is really important and becoming more and more pivotal in TBT because you can do an attack at the front, but at the same time, it can be a distraction for something really bigger going on in the main. It looks like Boxer wants to go for a drop himself, but a very well-timed scan there.
It's like the best possible time for TLO to scan now. Yeah. I don't know what you want to do with this position. Maybe you just, okay, that's exactly what I thought.
Exactly,
just dump them all out and maybe try that later. Now, you know what? He might try to make it look like he's actually going to do a drop now, sending them in the exact same direction. And if it's spotted, that might force some of that army to return home.
We do have 2 Vikings over here for TLO on the left-hand side, but there's also 2 Vikings for Boxer. And now, somewhat of an engagement here in the middle of the map, and Boxer is going to have to fall back.
Is it going to get spotted? All right, this is a situation right now that is not good for TLO. He had a bad draw there with who fired first. Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Oh, no. He gets it. It's a trade.
That was actually insane.
That was
beautiful.
Pretty nice play from both players. But here comes Boxer moving up once again. The Thor doing the tanking there, and the siege tanks actually being the ones to push him back. But it's actually very smart by Boxer in that last engagement. The medevacs were the first units to take damage from TLO's Vikings, but TLO still managed to somehow take out Boxer's Vikings in a 2v2.
I was wondering if he was going to destroy those rocks or just torture them until they're almost dead. Now turn around. But it looks like these players may be going around each other in a circle here. Scanning. Looks like he may have found an opening. Turning around for the Thor. Who will siege first? Oh man, SlayerSBoxer is in great position right now. These Thors taking a ton of damage. The SCVs now can no longer mine the gold patches. And he's going to inch forward once again. The siege tank's just out of range here.
He's actually kind of splitting the middle here on TLO's forces moving forward. There's nothing really TLO can defend with. He's completely out of position. Here comes the Hellions moving in. If he can get into the mineral line, he's going to be able to kill so many SCVs.
It is getting out of control here, as you can see. The Hellions now doing a lot of damage. I don't know if these Thors can actually get through here. So much damage being dealt. It looks like he's going to land a mule here.
A little bit of a diss there coming out from TLO, and he's going to clean up that tack pretty easily. Supply now still in Boxer's favor, however. Actually tied up now.
And, you know, that's going to change pretty quickly as these gold minerals start to get mined out. He is moving forward here, but it looks like these siege tanks should be prepared, just barely in range of each other. Meanwhile, a drop heading towards the Terran's expansion.
And if TLO was paying attention, he would have picked that up on his sensor tower. We're going to have to see if he can defend against this in time. However, 3 Blue Flame Hellions are going to tear through some SCVs, but there's really not too many, as I think a lot of them were transferred over here to the high yield.
He's already pulled out of that location. And you can see in the meanwhile, SlayerSBoxer now sending up his own gold expansion.
Now, if we look real quick in the units tab, we got 66 SCVs for TLO, 71 for Boxer, and it's pretty surprising to me because in the TVTs that I have casted of Boxer, actually hold that thought. We are going to see a drop here in the main. These tanks should be able to clean up these Hellions as they do, and the drop has been nullified, but map position still in Boxer's favor somewhat.
And this medevac will go down. Meanwhile, over here, a little bit of a standoff. He would ideally like to get closer to this planetary fortress. By the way, 1 orbital here for SlayerSBoxer, planetary fortress here for TLO. So actually the Econ will pick up more for SlayerSBoxer with his 3 orbitals against SlayerSBoxer's, against TLO's 2.
Yeah, and we also see a 4th command center started at the natural for Boxer. So if he can get that 4th down and secured, he's really going to start to surge ahead. Already ahead in supply count right now, but TLO is going to be unsieging here, maybe just inching forward a little bit. And this sometimes happens with mech versus mech play, Tasteless. It becomes very positional based and almost very turtley based.
Yeah, it does. And this is a moment where the map can be cut in half, which it almost already is. I guess the big question is going to be who's going to get to control the left side of the map and who's going to get to control the right. I should say upper left and lower right, actually. Excuse me.
We do have another drop here on the right-hand side of the map coming out for Boxer. It looks like that is en route to go to the, well, doesn't actually have waypoints just yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. And both players sieging up here in the middle of the map. We see turrets going down for Boxer, and here comes that drop, Tasteless.
It looks as though the drop is moving in right over here. And this one Hellion will actually be stuck
yeah, not
that
the
depot.
best place to drop.
Yeah, it actually would have been better to drop in the mineral line instead of behind it. But you know what? It's doing something. In this case, something is always better than nothing.
That's true. He actually is going to lose all 2 of those Hellions. One was able to get back on the ground, but he will die to that tank. And meanwhile, we still have this big siege warfare going on at TLO's high yield.
Yeah, it looks like, once again, TLO always ahead in one expansion, but SlayerSBoxer always ahead in supply.
Yeah, that is very true. Real quick at the upgrades, +2 just now finishing for Boxer, +3 already started and well on its way. And also, the big upgrade here, as we see Boxer slowly inching forward and getting a couple shells off to TLO's tank line, is that cloaking field upgrade, and the Banshees can really turn the tide. And we see a mule landing here trying to take out the siege tank of Boxer, but Boxer actually unsieged just in time.
Yeah, he's been handling this really well so far. Also, note we have some more Hellions coming down here, and this location is exposed. This is going to be really bad for TLO.
And he will most certainly lose all of those SCVs. Well, Boxer didn't really chase too far, to be honest, so looks like he will retreat, get out with 3 alive, losing 2 of those.
You know, if I could just point out to everybody, if you haven't noticed already, TLO is actually spending his money way better than SlayerSBoxer. SlayerSBoxer about 3,200 supply.
That is very true.
Or minerals, excuse me.
And I mean, if we look back in the main, he's up to, I think, 4 factories. Starting to add on some more command centers, but he's actually just so high on his mineral count. He's quickly approaching 200 supply, which might really help as the game's going to move forward. We might see kind of the Sky Terran build as TLO's starting to slowly do it with the Viking and Banshees already out in the middle of the map.
Yeah, he wants to force in Thors again here from SlayerSBoxer, which aren't exactly useful in this situation. And now, gosh, I don't know. I mean, this is the only expansion that hasn't really been taken here, as we see a double expand here coming from SlayerSBoxer. Yep. Oh, what is he doing?
Uh-oh, if he loses that Banshee, that is going to be terrible, and it will die. We see Cloak down at the last second. He's going to land the Vikings to try to take out those tanks, and he will be able to take out those 3 siege tanks and deny this expansion. But at the same time, we have some Hellions running in to this 3rd/4th base of TLO, but they're just going to die to a siege tank, Tasteless.
And very nice defense there and offense by TLO. He needs to get in over to this location right now, and we see more and more of these SCVs taking damage right now. Vikings landing. SlayerSBoxer seems somewhat impotent in this situation, unable to defend. And wow, TLO really kicking a lot of ass here.
Yeah, these 4 siege tanks will scare these Vikings off. And look at that turret. It's about 2 seconds from being finished, and it will finish. Is he actually going to lose this Banshee up here? And he does lose the Banshee and possibly some Vikings thereafter. But another big push here now with Thors going up on the left-hand side of the map. The siege mode has been initiated from those tanks, and I think, actually, no, TLO will lose because Thors were clumped up there.
Yeah, you got to separate those Thors when you're going to engage siege tanks like that. Splash damage is oh so scary. And now, you know, look, let's talk about the resources here. Both these gold bases are almost mined out.
Yeah.
TLO has this space, but SlayerSBoxer is clearly doing a better job of acquiring this location on the map. So TLO is going to have to take that center right location ASAP.
Yeah, and I mean, the important thing here are Banshees will pretty much turn the tide of the game, and we see that as TLO's starting to kill some tanks, kill these turrets, but the Vikings are coming out for Boxer, and you know, this is kind of looking like a little bit of the match between Boxer and Rain. How many of you guys watched MLG Anaheim for that match?
Oh, that was actually amazing. And we see some of our audience been following some of the previous MLGs here. All right, now we got the mules being landed here by SlayerSBoxer to try to hold this position. I think TLO may have made a pretty big mistake here, as even though these siege tanks are going to get wiped out, I think it's very possible for SlayerSBoxer to walk back into this region and take this out.
Yeah,
oh, but excuse me, as I see the Banshees, I have to say otherwise.
Yeah, these Banshees are going to deny any reinforcements from Boxer to really move in, and TLO has actually denied this base of SlayerSBoxer.
He's actually trying to make a command center of his own here. And take a look here, landing the barracks and making a tech lab just so there's that much more stuff to destroy. That is so smart. Wow.
Vikings landing here for TLO behind the mineral line, and uh-oh, battle cruisers are on the map. And that is a ton of BCs, Tasteless.
Yeah, just wiping all that out over here. Now here's the problem, is that how is TLO going to deal with that? A turret is just not going to be enough for that many battle cruisers.
And that is some pretty scary stuff for TLO to see. Those missile turrets aren't going to last whatsoever against these battle cruisers. He might just simply move forward on TLO's entire army and win with that many BCs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be prepared. You know, the reflexive move for most StarCraft 1 players is to start throwing up hundreds of turrets, but battle cruisers are so strong right now in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, and we see that is going to be TLO's answer for the moment, throwing up 4 of those missile turrets. But the BCs are moving forward, as well as the tanks. You know, Banshees are pretty good in mech play, but BCs are even better.
Yeah, absolutely. This is some very technical endgame stuff, but a lot of Vikings are moving up here. More Vikings here from SlayerSBoxer to drive TLO's right on out.
And we see Boxer still pushing forward, but a little bit more careful now, as he is down to a total of 4 BCs going in the unit tab. He is at only 4. He does have a couple more building. No, it looks like he's actually focusing on Vikings at the moment with 4 more popping out.
Yeah, basically there's a moment where you just have to only focus on Vikings because there's just no the Vikings can come out too quickly, so it just becomes this Viking versus Viking with the battle cruisers doing most of the ground control.
Yeah. So as we see Boxer control in the middle, we also see TLO pushing up with his Viking count. Now, when you get to this number of Vikings, something that can really become useful is the Seeker missile from the Raven.
Yeah.
And with the latest patch, it makes things really interesting because they can actually catch up to those Vikings.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. My God, that is a lot of mules.
Uh-oh. That's going to be mined out in no time.
No kidding. I think at this point in time, it's going to be difficult right now for TLO to maintain any more position. He has to destroy this over here. He hasn't really been able to even take that location. And at the same time, SlayerSBoxer seems to have the more healthy tech tree. Or I should say unit mixture.
So we see TLO actually pushing up here with a huge flock. Is it a flock of Vikings? Is that what you would
Is
call
it a gaggle maybe?
I don't know. Flock kind of goes to mutus,
right? Perhaps?
A fleet, actually. There you go. That is the correct.
It's like a murder of Vikings.
There you go.
All right, we have siege tanks coming up here. And I don't know. I don't know if he should keep struggling to get this position. SlayerSBoxer will actually mine out faster if TLO could turtle and secure this location later on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Boxer's actually supply.
I think I just heard a nuke somewhere.
Did you?
Yes, there it is. Thank God I caught that in time. Uh-oh.
Is that? Well, it will land, but it's only going to kill. Well, maybe it won't land. Actually,
looks like the Ghost was shot down just in time there. And this is getting interesting. All right, here we go. And on air battle.
Yamato cannons are going off. But it's not going to be enough. I mean, that is so many Vikings for TLO, up to a total of 22 at the moment, Tasteless.
That is just insane. As all the battle cruisers, well, perhaps just all but one will be destroyed.
We still have some more. BC's coming out for Boxer. Still no Ravens just yet. We see another mule landing, but there's no siege tanks near.
Yeah, TLO trying to bait out siege tank splash damage.
Yeah.
Saddest life of a mule.
Yeah. Well, they don't actually feel pain, so it's okay.
You don't know that.
Well,
they may be programmed to feel pain.
That's true. That would just be like the worst programming ever. It's like, you can mine, but you also have to feel pain.
The mule has to know it's going to die someday, and it's going to be in the next minute and a half of the game.
You're actually a cool person for thinking about that.
I'm a terrible person for that. Now, the battle cruisers are meeting up here, the small number of them that there are. TLO, I note, is really close to mining out all this stuff. We do have another nuke here on the way for TLO, and I believe it's right over in this location.
And it is just about to finish. Now, we talked about TLO using these nukes as kind of a weird thing that not a lot of their Terrans do. In the TLO versus Top match a long, long time ago at GSL, he used it to bait his opponent, but here comes a big engagement between these two players real quick. Viking counts are 29 for TLO, 26 for Boxer. And the battle has stopped. Now, we really got to pay attention for this nuke coming out of TLO.
I'm really waiting to see how is this nuke going to be used. Now, note, in a Viking versus Viking, along with Battlecruiser battle, you can actually point a nuke at the other guy's army, and he will have to run.
Yeah. Now, it's also true that if you go into the unit tab, he does not have a ghost on the field at the moment.
Yeah, I do not see a ghost out here yet. No, there's actually no ghost right now. All right, he's moving in. TLO needs this location. Wow. Looks like the Thors are now going to be able to damage the command center. And it looks like they shouldn't even be able to destroy it. Now, is this actually a good idea? I don't think so,
know, man.
actually.
Would you run from a huge squadron of ducks on the ground?
I would not. And now we see the Vikings chasing down TLO's army. I think TLO at a loss what to do, but SlayerSBoxer almost maxed out, and TLO's 135.
Yeah, the Viking count is still in Boxer's lead right now by about 10. And GG, Boxer has done it. They're in game one, taking out LiquidTLO. What a game, man. You know,
it was really interesting because it was such a complex game. I thought the nukes could have been used like a little bit better.
Yeah, well,
don't you think?
You have to make a ghost.
Yeah, the ghost complements a nuke pretty well. Excuse me, I'm allergic to really good games here. Look, that was a phenomenal game. We're going to go and join into the next game momentarily, but first we're going to have a quick little break, so don't go too far away. I'm Tasteless, with me is JP, and we're here at MLG.